Hello there, everyone. Ashnflash here, and I just finished watching Clone Wars, the series finale, and it's such an incredible show. I think that I look at this show now, and it's always been one of my favorites. Been one of my favorite animated shows, but I think this last arc, and I can't praise enough. It has some of the best Star Wars moments I think ever written, ever seen. The show itself is just incredible. The fact that it gave character and personality and made audience connect with characters that were either dead or even just nobodies, just literal numbers, and couldn't pick one out of the crowd, and some little orange animated girl who people would just hate on for the longest time from the movie to one of the best Star Wars characters ever created. I can't really put into words that finale. I mean, it had some of the best action, it had some of the best heart. I think that this season maybe didn't need to happen, and I'll back that up in a little bit, but I think that this should have been a movie. This, even if it was on Disney Plus or if it was in the theaters. I know there's no theaters right now, but I mean those 4 episodes are literal perfection. I can't stress that enough. The way that it fits in perfectly with Revenge of the Sith, just even in terms of just an ending to the characters, not necessarily all of the ones that we got to meet from Clone Wars, which is a whole other thing, but it was still really great to see us say goodbye, or I guess lead into where we see some of these characters later on in Rebels, which is a really great show as well. If you're wanting something to watch after Clone Wars, and you're like, well, what happens to some of these characters? Well, that's what you need to go watch. But I've been talking 3 minutes and I haven't even really said anything concrete besides just this show is honestly, it's one of my favorites, and I think that this arc has really sold me on it. And I don't think I've said anything spoilery, but if you haven't seen the season yet, I'd recommend hopping off. But let's go ahead and let's review this thing. So, um, the first arc, it was fine, I guess. I did like some of the dynamic that we got to see between Anakin and Rex. That was good to see them together. I guess really one last time, um, in terms of like having a story together. And the Bad Batch in general, they were kind of interesting. I mean, I would have liked them to maybe show up later on in the other episodes with the Siege of Mandalore, or I'm not really too sure. We don't know what happens to them after this, at least to my knowledge. Maybe there's a book or a comic or something, but to me, it just kind of felt really pointless. Kind of looking back on this season, I'd say, of 12 episodes. Um, I guess looking back on that arc, while it was fun and it was cool to see Wat Tembor, and I really did love some of the scenes. Like, I remember the first night, because I stay up until 3 a.m. every single time for these episodes, right? Because that's when it's 12, I think. What is it, Central? So it's 3 a.m. here, and I would wait up for these episodes each Friday, just like I did with The Mandalorian. But this meant more to me. This was a show that I remember so fondly. I remember watching these episodes premiere, and when I was going back and rewatching it all in preparation, I think it was for The Rise of Skywalker, I felt so old. I remember all these episodes and different things. Like, I remember I was watching on TV when season 3 started specifically. And I remember I would always watch the reruns of seasons 1 and 2, And season three, I think, was really, I can't remember a time when something when something made me so emotional. Over season one and two, I don't know if I could do this. Over season one and two, you get to meet these characters and you get to know some of the clones and different things. But it wasn't until season three with 99. Oh, I hate him. I would go on to Battlefront 2 and just get emotional over being on Camino. And I know everyone's gonna make fun of me in the comments. I don't really care. I love Star Wars, and um, that arc is still one of my favorites. I think even after this one, the Domino Squad. Anyways, we should be talking about this season. But what was the point of all that? Well, 99 it connects to the Bad Batch and all that stuff. But anyways, so I remember this show fondly. I really do. I don't think I saw season 6 until really recently. I think I might have seen a really crummy version on YouTube, but it wasn't until recently, I think, when I actually saw them, and it might have been 2 years ago on Netflix, when I sat down and watched it for like the whole series for like the third time. So that's my experience with the show. So going in, and I remember staying up that night and just, I couldn't believe it. Came on screen. I got all emotional. I literally stopped what I do. When I watch a show most of the time, I'll be drawing, I'll be working on something else, but for Clone Wars, I stopped everything. I was so ready for this, for the show to come back, and I shut off the lights in my room, put on my glasses, just sat here, and just was engulfed in it. And they had an amazing moment in that arc with Obi-Wan, Rex, and Anakin, and I remember screaming at 3 a.m. in the morning, "He knows! Obi-Wan knows!" And it was just like, oh, it was great. It was really great, and I loved that arc. It was a lot of fun, and honestly, it's a good story. But to introduce all those characters and spend a lot of time on them, and to bring back Echo and different things, to not really do anything. And that Mace Windu moment as well was one of my favorites of, I think, the whole season, even though he was a real jerk recently, but he was still really amazing that time when he tried to get them to surrender. But that was one of my favorite parts. So we gotta move on. We're already 8 minutes into this thing, and I haven't even talked about the finale. So the middle arc, this is when you're going to hear my tone of voice has already changed because I'm starting to get upset just thinking about this arc. I really, really don't like this arc. It is extremely boring, and I stand by that. I think I fell asleep during the first episode, and I had to go back and rewatch it. I don't even think I went back that night. I just went back the next day or something, because it was so uninteresting, so boring. I'm sorry, I love Ahsoka, I really do, but I don't care where she's been. I want to know what she's doing right now. Like what is she up to? I don't really care about her little side adventures on Coruscant. I'm sorry, this isn't what interests me in the series finale. This is the last season of the show. I don't care about the relationships that she's building on Coruscant. That doesn't push the Star Wars narrative and story forward. Yes, I've heard all the arguments about these two characters and how they represent the two different sides of Ahsoka, but I'm sorry, when you start an episode, when we have a limited run of 12 episodes, and you start one episode in a prison cell and end it in the exact same prison cell, only to have a couple of lines of narration and backstory given to some of these characters who, quite frankly, their motives and different things are so extremely flawed, and it is beyond frustrating. Some of their dialogue, it reminds me of Attack of the Clones for some of the dialogue that the older sister specifically had, and it was really cringy in a lot of moments, and I just did not care for those characters one bit at all, especially knowing that they have no importance going forward. They are not helping, they are not moving the Star Wars narrative forward at all, because at the end of the arc, when we finally get to slowly, after 4 weeks, we're going into the Siege of Mandalore, and Ahsoka would have gone regardless of if that arc had happened or hadn't happened. So to me, it's such a waste. I think even with the Bad Batch, it could have been 1 or 2 episodes. This could have been 1 or 2 episodes as well. I would have been fine with that. There's some really I don't want to say bad, because I recently found out that the droid arc with Gregor's is actually George Lucas's favorite arc, and I find that one really dull and really, really boring. So, yeah, I gotta be really careful with what I say, because Star Wars fans are all over the place, even the creator. I really don't see how that's a great episode, but, where was I about that arc specifically? So, yeah, I think it could have been a lot shorter, and specifically, I would have liked to see some of the unfinished episodes. Specifically, I would have liked to see Count Dooku one last time, and I would have liked to see the stuff that they had planned with Ventress and Cad Bane and some of those episodes as well. And I think that those are some of the most fan favorite characters. And we don't know what happens to Cad Bane. That thing with Boba Fett isn't canon, I believe. I might get comments about that, but I've tried looking it up and it doesn't seem to be. But anyways, I think I would have preferred an arc about Boba Fett, or literally just anyone else but that arc that they gave us, or tie them in or something. Like, I don't know, it was just extremely dull and boring, and it was such a setup for the final arc. It just felt like such a filler and a waste of time and of 4 weeks of this, and it's a third of this limited season, and honestly, the first 2 arcs I don't think we needed. I really don't, and that's why I think that we just didn't need those two. I think that honestly it could have just been a movie, and maybe you have them somehow encountering each other on Coruscant or something. I don't know, with Bo-Katan and Ahsoka, and that's the entrance into, hey, I like, we need your help or whatever, and this is what's happening. I don't know. It seemed really pointless to me. That just looking back, but the final arc it's perfection. It has some of the best writing. It was I was just in tears, I think, from and shaking from the moment that the first episode started. It was just, this is the Clone Wars that I remembered. It was great action. It was great writing. It was funny. It was clever. It subverted your expectations with like what was going on. It was just, there was so many great things, and then to tie it all into one of my favorite movies, Revenge of the Sith, and I I don't know, it was really surreal, and I just got swept up in it, and I didn't expect that. And I think that the first episode, I don't know, I'd have to go back honestly, and I do want to rewatch it all again. But the first episode, it could be my favorite episode of the entire series. I think that in a lot of ways, like, that was the farewell to some of the characters. In my mind, anyways. Like, especially saying goodbye to Anakin and Ahsoka. And I know with Rebels, and even at the end there, we get to see him pick up the lightsaber and stuff, but it's not the same. That was really the last time that you hear her say it in Rebels, and man, so yeah, that was incredible. And then the second episode just started off amazingly with Maul, and the dialogue and the reasons why he wanted her there, or sorry, he wanted Kenobi there to bring Anakin out, and I was hoping for Kenobi. Why are you here? And all that stuff. It was just every single line that he said, just, it brought a smile to my face. And Maul's always been one of my favorite characters. And I remember when he was coming back, and I could do a whole video talking about that, but to see him here and back at it, and just that was one of the best lightsaber fights I think that we've ever gotten, and it was just truly incredible. And the whole time I'm like, all right, I'm looking at my watch that's not on my hand, and I'm thinking, any moment now, or Order 66 is about to happen any moment, any moment. And then didn't happen that episode. So the whole time, all right, episode 3, it's got to be this one. Part 3, it's got to be this one. And last Friday's was just, it was spooky. Genuinely, it felt like a horror movie. Like, the music that they were having, the angles, the way that the clones were looking, and it was just creepy. It was so strange, and also to have Maul there, the prior week, just running his mouth, right, like not in a bad way, but like he saw all these things come into fruition. He knew that all this stuff was going to happen, and he became aware that this, like, right now, this is when the war ends. To have him not speak as well for most of it, to have him just sitting there as all that was happening, was really interesting as well to me. Because he knows that all this is happening. He was bred for this. He was bred for this moment that he had stolen from him by Kenobi. And it was just incredible. Order 66 is just, I think that scene, I still get emotional watching it. And then my favorite part, and honestly, you can, I don't know, I don't want to say it, but the only redeeming part, I'll be brave. The only redeeming part for Jedi Fallen Order to me was actually the Order 66 level. That is my favorite part of that game. And it's good. It's a good game, but I have a lot of gripes with it. But anyways, my favorite part of that was Order 66, and just being a part of that, and seeing it from Cal's perspective, and this young person, just a little bit younger than Ahsoka, but being able to be them in that was so immersive. And to see now from Ahsoka's perspective, and we knew that Rex said that he didn't kill his Jedi and different things like that. So it was three of my favorite characters from the show, all wrapped up in this moment that I've known about since I was a kid. And as the show would go on, and she would return in Rebels and different things, it was strange to, like, even though I knew that she'd live, and Rex of course as well, it was like, how are they going to get out of this? And it was perfect. And bringing back her droid, I now have favorite droids after tonight's episode. I think that Ahsoka is one of the best Star Wars characters, same with Rex. And one of my favorite moments of the last arc was when Rex is told execute Order 66, and to see him start to shake with confusion, and following orders, and his love that he has for Ahsoka, and to turn around, and that shot of him with the tears running down his face, that I'll never forget. That was one of the most powerful shots, I think, of the show, for sure, and Star Wars in general. Maul, oh my goodness, his hallway fight scene gives Daredevil and Darth Vader a run for their money, because it was just insane. And when people say that this is a kid show, I laugh at them, because I'm like, Rebels for the first seasons like had explosions, and then you'd see like the pilot crawling out of the TIE fighter, and oh, they're fine. This one, they were decapitating, they were cutting off arms and limbs. It was dark, and that was what Order 66 was. And seeing Maul, this vicious animal, just tear through the mall, it was incredible. And tonight he was just dodging like the blasters like he was from the Matrix. It was incredible, genuinely incredible. He is beyond amazing, and again, which is why I'm so sad about Solo not doing well, because him at the end was my favorite part. But yeah, I think I've said everything that I want to say. If you can't tell, I'm really passionate about this stuff. I really love Star Wars, and I really love Clone Wars specifically. And honestly, I think that while people love The Mandalorian and different things, these last four episodes did something that the whole show did something that took a one-off line from episode 4 about during the Clone Wars, and different things like that. It became this thing that we got to see, and even though it did stop and start up again, it was still a part of all of our lives. And to have it come back, and now for it to end, but to have it send off in this way, and to see whether not exactly sure the timeline when Vader is picking up the lightsaber at the end there, but maybe it's while they're searching for the rebels on Hoth, while they're setting out the different droids and different things to scan for the planets, and they came across the crash site. But to see that there, and the snow troopers and stormtroopers and Vader, just perfect ending to the perfect show. Not perfect show, because like I said, there's a lot of bad episodes, but still overall, like, it is some of the best Star Wars. It has my favorite lightsaber fight I think ever with Sidious and Savage Opress and Maul. It was just incredible. But yeah, again, I could just continue to talk about the show for hours. So, anyways, guys, thank you for tuning into my TED Talk, and thank you for watching the video. And I hope that you did enjoy this. I am working on the series 2 now. This has really motivated me to finish it off. And if you haven't seen my series 1 yet, I will link it here at the end, as well as when the other one becomes public, I'll come back and hopefully link this. But this season was a mixed bag, I'd say, but this last 4 were perfection. And honestly, it was just a movie. It was a movie that I can't wait to rewatch and see it, hopefully, and pause the movie to go watch Revenge of the Sith and different things, go back and forth, because I think it'll really add to the whole Star Wars experience, which I think is at its core what these episodes should be doing, is adding to the narrative and the story and pushing it forward and closing gaps on stories that we haven't seen unfold yet. But yeah, anyways, guys, happy Star Wars Day, and I hope that you did enjoy this video, and I hope that you all have a great day. I'll see you all in the next one.